The strongest men are not the loudest in the room. They're not the ones who fight every battle or chase after every argument. The strongest men know when to walk away. And in a world that mistakes silence for weakness, walking away has become the ultimate sign of power. Today, inside the Stoic Golden Tribe, we reveal why the strongest men always walk away, and why doing so can transform your relationships, your respect, and your destiny as a man. If you're ready to embrace true strength, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Ancient Secret of Strength. Strength has never been about muscles, shouting, or intimidation. True strength has always been measured by restraint, wisdom, and the ability to control oneself when the world tries to provoke you. The ancients understood this long before we did. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What did he mean? That true power isn't found in dominating others. It's found in dominating yourself. The strongest men of history were never the ones who fought every battle. They were the ones who knew which battles were worth fighting and which ones were beneath their dignity. A general who sends his army into every skirmish is not brave, he is reckless. And in the same way, a man who wastes his energy on every insult, every disagreement, every worthless relationship is not strong, he is weak. Walking away is not surrender, it is strategy. It is the ability to say, "This is not worth my time. My energy belongs to higher things." And that ability has always separated the weak from the truly powerful. Think of Alexander the Great. Though he conquered much of the known world, his downfall came not from enemies, but from his inability to walk away from his own impulses. Contrast that with men like Cincinnatus of Rome, who at the height of power walked away from the throne and returned to his farm, proving that real power lies not in clinging to control, but in letting it go. Strong men walk away because they know something the world forgets. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some fights are designed to distract you, drain you, and keep you from your destiny. The man who answers every insult proves he is ruled by ego. The man who cannot leave a toxic woman proves he is ruled by fear. The man who chases every opportunity without discipline proves he is ruled by greed. But the strongest men, they prove they are ruled by wisdom. They know that by walking away, they protect their energy, their focus, and their dignity. Every time a man walks away from something beneath him, he declares, "My value is not up for negotiation." And that declaration echoes louder than any argument ever could. So, when people wonder why strong men are calm, composed, and unshaken, it is because they have mastered this secret. True strength is silent, and walking away is its most powerful weapon. What's one situation where walking away actually made you stronger? Share your story below. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Walking Away. When you understand the psychology behind walking away, you begin to realize why it is one of the most powerful moves a man can ever make. Because it doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how the world sees you. At the root of human behavior is a simple truth. People value what they believe they can lose. This is why rare gems are treasured, why limited edition items sell out instantly, and why opportunities feel more urgent when they are slipping away. Scarcity creates value. Now think about this in the context of a man. The man who clings, begs, and chases tells the world, "I am always available. I will tolerate anything. I will never leave." And what happens? His value collapses. Why? Because if something cannot be lost, it cannot be respected. On the other hand, when a man has the strength to walk away, he communicates something radically different. He says, "I am not dependent on you. I am not controlled by you. I am complete with or without you." And instantly, his value multiplies. This is why women respect men who can walk away. This is why bosses negotiate harder with employees who won't tolerate disrespect. This is why even enemies are careful around those who are not afraid to leave the table. Let's break this down with examples. In relationships, many men lose attraction because they stay when they should walk away. They accept disrespect, tolerate lies, and compromise their standards. Deep down, the woman begins to see him as weak. Why? Because his fear of losing her makes him blind to losing himself. But the man who calmly walks away from a disrespectful partner sends a message stronger than any speech. I will not trade my dignity for your presence. Ironically, this is often the very moment she realizes his true worth. In business, the same rule applies. Think of negotiations. The man who is desperate to close the deal will accept unfair terms. But the man who is willing to walk away, even if it costs him the opportunity, forces the other side to raise their offer. Why? Because his ability to walk away creates scarcity. He cannot be easily bought, and people respect what cannot be bought cheaply. In friendships too, walking away creates respect. Every man has had so-called friends who use, manipulate, or mock them. The weak man tolerates it because he fears loneliness. The strong man walks away, and suddenly, those same friends see what they lost. Respect always follows the man who respects himself. Psychologists call this principle the scarcity effect. Humans are hardwired to assign higher value to what they cannot easily have. And nothing triggers the scarcity effect more powerfully than a man who is not afraid to walk away. But here's the deeper truth. Walking away is not just about psychology. It is about identity. The act of walking away reshapes how you see yourself. Because every time you walk away from disrespect, you remind yourself, I am a man of value. I am not desperate. I am not for sale. This is why men who master walking away radiate confidence. It is not arrogance. It is self-certainty. They no longer seek constant validation because they have already validated themselves. There is an old saying, when you chase, they run. When you walk away, they follow. And while it doesn't apply in every single situation, there is profound truth in it. People chase what withdraws. They crave what they feel slipping through their hands. And the man who knows this never wastes his time begging to be kept. Instead, he stands firm, and if he must, he walks, because he understands that by leaving the wrong table, he opens space for the right one. By closing the wrong door, he makes room for the right one to open. The psychology of walking away is really the psychology of power. Power is not about force, it is about options. The man who cannot walk away has no options. The man who can walk away has infinite options. So if you want to be respected by women, by friends, by employers, by the world, you must train yourself in this one discipline. Never fear walking away. It is not the end of something. It is the proof that you believe in yourself enough to choose better. Because at the end of the day, walking away is not about rejecting others. It is about refusing to reject yourself. Do you think most men today struggle more with holding on too long or letting go too soon? Drop your thoughts below. Chapter 3. Walking away in love and relationships. Love is one of the most powerful forces in a man's life. It can make him rise higher than ever before, or it can drag him into his darkest fall. And history has shown us that a man's strength in love is not measured by how tightly he holds on, but by whether he has the courage to walk away when love turns to chains. Think about Samson, one of the strongest men in the Bible. His physical strength was unmatched, yet his downfall came not from armies or enemies, but from his inability to walk away from Delilah. Despite the signs, despite the betrayal, he stayed, and it cost him everything. His story is not just about lust or temptation. It's about the danger of clinging to someone who no longer serves your destiny. Now compare that with the wisdom of the Stoics. They warned that passion, when uncontrolled, enslaves the mind. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And that includes bravery in love. Because freedom in love does not mean avoiding commitment. It means refusing to chain your soul to someone who diminishes your worth. Too many men today confuse loyalty with self-destruction. They stay in relationships where respect is gone, where affection has turned to contempt, where they are tolerated rather than cherished. Why? Because they fear the pain of loss more than the pain of slow decay. They think that by holding on they are showing strength, but in reality they are showing weakness. A woman does not respect a man who clings. She respects a man who can say, "I love you deeply, but I love myself enough to walk away if I am no longer valued." That is the ultimate test of masculinity, not how much you can endure, but how much dignity you are willing to protect. Women test men constantly, though not always consciously. They push boundaries, they withhold affection, they challenge your frame. Not because they want to destroy you, but because they want to feel your strength. They want to know, does this man truly respect himself? If the answer is no, her attraction dies. If the answer is yes, if you can walk away rather than beg, her respect deepens. But here is the hardest truth. Walking away often hurts. It feels like tearing out a piece of your own heart. And yet that pain is the fire that forges your strength, because every time you walk away from someone who disrespects you, you prove to yourself that your value is not dependent on their presence. Remember this, walking away from a woman who no longer values you is not losing her. It is finding yourself again. It is reclaiming the man you were before you gave away your power. And when you reclaim that man, something powerful happens. You begin to attract women who sense your strength. You begin to attract respect without asking for it. You begin to live not as a beggar of love, but as a giver of respect to yourself first, and then to others. So the next time you find yourself in a relationship where you are no longer honored, remember this. Love is not meant to be begged for. Respect is not meant to be negotiated. And the strongest act of love you can ever show is the love you show yourself when you walk away. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you love deeply? How did it change you? Share your story below. Chapter 4. The Legacy of Strong Men. When we talk about walking away, it is easy to think only of relationships or small conflicts. But the truth is much deeper. Walking away is not just an act, it is a philosophy. It is a way of life that defines the legacy of the strongest men in history. Think about Cincinnatus, the Roman statesman. At the height of power, when Rome begged him to remain as their ruler, he chose instead to step down and return to his farm. He had absolute control, yet he walked away from it. Why? Because he understood that true power is not found in clinging, but in letting go. His legacy is remembered to this day, not because he held power, but because he refused to be enslaved by it. Now contrast that with men who could not walk away. Think of rulers who clung to thrones until they were dragged off in chains. Think of men who held on to wealth until it destroyed their families. Think of those who stayed in toxic relationships until their spirit was broken. History forgets the men who begged to stay. But history always remembers the men who had the courage to leave. Walking away is not about abandonment, it is about alignment. It is about aligning yourself with principles higher than comfort, desire, or fear. It is about saying, I will not compromise my dignity, even if it costs me everything else. This is why the strongest men are often misunderstood. The world sees them walking away and thinks, he gave up. But in reality, he didn't give up. He rose above. He chose values over validation. He chose integrity over approval. He chose long-term honor over short-term comfort. And here is the truth every man must face. Life will constantly present you with moments where walking away is the only path to strength. You will face jobs that pay well but kill your soul. You will face relationships that feel good but erode your respect. You will face friendships that entertain you but corrode your discipline. And in those moments, the man who is weak will cling, but the man who is strong will walk away. Walking away is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, like leaving a party early because you know it no longer fits your values. Sometimes it is bold, like ending a relationship even when your heart still longs for her. And sometimes it is revolutionary, like leaving behind an entire way of life to pursue a higher calling. But in every form, walking away builds your legacy, because your legacy as a man is not defined by what you held on to. It is defined by what you refused to accept. The strongest men in history were not remembered for desperation, but for discipline. They were not remembered for chasing, but for choosing. They were not remembered for clinging to what was beneath them, but for walking away toward what was greater. And this is the legacy you must build, not one of endless compromise, but one of unwavering principle, not one of begging for respect, but one of commanding it by your actions, not one of fear, but one of courage, the courage to walk away when walking away is the only path to honor. Because at the end of your life, when people remember you, they will not recall how hard you begged or how long you clung. They will remember the moments when you stood tall, turned your back on what diminished you, and walked into something greater. History does not remember the men who begged. It remembers the men who walked away. If you had to walk away today to protect your self-respect, what would it be? A man's strength isn't measured by how tightly he holds on, but by how powerfully he lets go. The strongest men always walk away, not because they don't care, but because they care about themselves enough to never settle for less. If you found value in today's video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Stoic Golden Tribe, where we help men rise with wisdom, discipline, and power. Remember, your value is not up for debate. Walk away and watch the world respect you more.